Minimalism has taught me to remove what doesn't serve my life and to pretty much question everything that I own. And while I have learned that I don't need as much as I once thought, there are a few things that might seem useless at first, but actually make my life easier, calmer, and more enjoyable. Most of them are cheap, and some are completely free. So in this video, I want to share 12 things that might sound pointless, but are surprisingly worth it. The first thing is a shoehorn. These are those small curved tools that help you slide your foot into a shoe. They are usually made of metal, wood, or plastic. And I guess most people think of them as something only grandparents or old people use. Most of us just push the heel in or use our fingers for help. But doing that can slowly break down your shoes. The back starts to fold in, the shape wears out, and you end up replacing them sooner, which is of course a waste of money and resources. This tool is made to stop that from happening. It keeps the heel firm, helps your foot slide in easily, and makes it much easier to put on shoes if back or knees aren't feeling that great. The first time you use one, you get it right away. Like you feel like now. I understand why so many people have this. Here in Northern Europe, these shoehorns are actually really common. Almost every home has one by the door, and you see them in gyms, in offices, and even in workplaces. It's really part of the ritual when you get dressed here no matter where you are. They are usually under $10, take almost no space, and basically last forever. The metallic ones from IKEA. So, these ones are really great. This is what we have had in our home for years. It's one of those things that is very easy to overlook, but actually helps a lot in the long run. The second one is writing things down that you already know. When you are reading a book, taking a course, or watching a class, the information is already right there on the screen or page. So it can feel quite pointless to write it down again. You can see it, you understand it. So, why copy it? But something happens when you do. Writing by hand connects your hand, eyes, and brain in a way that just reading or watching doesn't. It slows things down, makes you actually pay attention, and turns passive information into something your mind can actually hold on to. It's also a very good way of processing. When you put words on paper, you start writing and shaping them in your own way. You choose what stands out and how you want to phrase it. And that's how understanding becomes personal. It becomes like deep knowledge. I do this a lot when I'm reading books. Even if I technically already know the point, writing it helps me remember the feeling behind it, not just the sentence itself. And this is not only for learning. Writing small things like dates, reminders, or ideas on paper, instead of just trusting your memory, keeps your head clear. What's written doesn't need to stay in your mind anymore. So, it's kind of like mental minimalism. 3. Preparing more than you have to. There's something really peaceful about knowing you have gone a little deeper when you take the time to understand what is ahead. Everything feels much easier and calmer. For me, this has become clear. For example, in running before a race, I really study the route and learn where all the uphills and downhills and sharp turns are. I do it to know what to expect so that on race day I can just focus on running instead of all the possible surprises, and I do the same thing when I am, for example, traveling. Reading about a place before visiting makes it come alive in a whole different way. When you know the story behind a building or a painting, the experience feels so much richer. Without that awareness, without that knowledge, the same sights can feel just empty, like you are passing through without really understanding them. You can also do this at work or in meetings. Learning a bit about the people you will talk to or the topic itself helps a lot. The point is not to be perfect or look smart in anyone's eyes. It's just about building confidence and curiosity through this preparation and awareness. Number 4. A minimalist dumb phone. I think most people these days, especially younger generations, when they see a minimalist phone, they instantly think I could never use that. It looks so boring and inconvenient. There's no social media, no email, no quick access to anything. But maybe that's exactly what we need. Less noise, fewer distractions, and more space for real life. And that's what made me super curious to try one. Around 6 months ago, I got this phone called Modita Compact. It's a minimalist phone that keeps only the essentials. There's calls, texts, GPS, and a few thoughtful tools like meditation timers, notes, and an and screen that is gentle on your eyes. Modita first sent it to me for this 7-day or 1-week test, so I could try it and share my honest experience. And this video is actually sponsored by them too, since they are now doing something special that I will talk more about in just... And after the test week, I noticed that I started looking around again. I wasn't reaching for my phone every few minutes anymore. Not while waiting in line, not before bed, not even during small pauses in the day like I used to. And without constant scrolling and notifications, life just felt different. I was just there, like disconnected but more connected to life because of that. So that test week ended months ago, but I still use this phone because it really helps me protect my attention, my time, and my peace. The phone costs less than most smartphones, which already makes it interesting. The number 5 is memorizing phone numbers. This can feel like something from the 90s, back when you had to actually remember them because there wasn't another option, especially if you were out of house. I don't have actual statistics for this one, but I bet most people around 20 years old now don't know a single phone number except their own because it feels so unnecessary now. We have contact lists in our phones. We have backups, cloud storage, everything. So why spend effort remembering something your phone already knows? But that is exactly why it matters, in my opinion. We have gotten so used to offloading our memory that we have lost the small safety nets that we used to have. I was one of the last kids born in the era where you needed to rely on your own memory for things like this. You would call your mom, dad, grandparents, or friends so often that their numbers just stayed in your head. Now, most people would be completely stranded if their phone died on a trip, or it got stolen, or just stopped working. They couldn't even call for help without asking someone to call the service number, or whatever it's called, to get someone's phone number, or logging into a social media account on someone else's phone to send a DM through that, and hope that the other person has notifications on. Memorizing just a few numbers brings that sense of independence back. Your partner, close friend, a family member, that's pretty much all you need. So, just a few numbers. It's one of those habits that costs almost nothing, but it can really save you from a lot of stress later. 6. Tiny microfiber towel. This doesn't seem essential in everyday life, so most people never think about it, or they don't even know this exists. But once you have one, you realize how useful it is. I got this one as a gift like a decade ago. It's from a brand called Seed to Summit, and it has survived every decluttering round I have ever done because it just keeps proving its worth year after year. It is small, it is light, and it dries super fast. You can fold it into the size of your hand, keep it in a pocket, or a small bag. So, it takes almost no space, yet somehow it solves so many problems. It's perfect for traveling, hiking, or even just quick workouts. Whenever you don't have much space or you are not sure if you will even need a towel, this is exactly what you want to have. It's also a reminder that usefulness doesn't have to be big or expensive. These towels usually cost under $20, and they last for years. The next one is doing math in your head. Sometimes we don't really do math in our heads anymore. Even simple things like checking a discount or splitting a bill. We just go straight to the phone because there's a calculator. It's faster and more accurate, but slowly that makes the mind a bit lazier. Studies show that doing small calculations in your head keeps your brain active and healthy in a very natural way. It strengthens focus, memory, and attention. The same qualities that help in everything else, too. It's like doing a few push-ups with your mind every day. And of course, this doesn't or shouldn't be anything complicated, like calculus. Just try to estimate a discount or calculate how long it will take to walk somewhere. These small things keep your brain engaged without feeling overwhelming. Like if something costs $28 and it's 40% off, can you find the total price without using a calculator? You can tell me in the comments if you can. Number 8. Not correcting small mistakes in conversations. Sometimes I catch myself doing this without even noticing. Someone says something slightly wrong, a small detail or a grammar mistake, and I automatically jump in to fix it. It feels harmless to me, but it can change the whole tone of the conversation. I have realized that correcting others is often not really about helping the other person. It's usually about the need to make things sound right and precise, or prove that you know something better or more. And because of that, it can make other people feel quite uncomfortable, like you are trying to be better or superior compared to them. So these days, I try to just let those little things pass. If someone mixes up a word or remembers something wrong that is irrelevant to the full story, it's fine. The message still comes through. And what is interesting is that when you stop correcting people all the time, the energy between you shifts. People feel safer. The conversations flow more naturally and you actually listen more, because you're not just waiting for your turn to fix something. Of course, if something is important and could cause some confusion, it is very good and important to clarify. But most of the time it's just the ego wanting to step in, and you lose nothing by letting go of the need to be right, and you gain a lot of peace when you do that. The next thing that might seem pointless but is actually useful is having a backup wallet when traveling. When I travel, I always carry a second wallet. It's not something I use daily, just one that I keep separate from my main wallet. Inside of that, I usually have a bit of cash and sometimes a copy of my ID. And when you try to travel light, or if you are a minimalist, the idea of having two wallets seems like the opposite of minimalism and traveling light. But the first time you run into trouble with your wallet, you really understand why this matters. Because if your main or the only wallet gets lost or stolen, having this backup really helps so much. Because you can still buy food, buy water, take a train or a bus, check into a hotel, and get maybe even back home without crazy panic. So, it's really about the calm that it gives you. And that is the thing about safety nets. You don't really value them until you need them. Most of the time you will never have to use it like this wallet. But if you do, it saves you from a massive headache, especially if you are abroad traveling alone and everything already feels new or uncertain. 10. Taking walks without a destination. Most of the time when we walk these days, it's to get somewhere. The store, to work, the gym, or a specific destination. So walking without one feels strange at first, almost pointless. But that's exactly why it is worth doing. Many writers and artists and thinkers used to do this in the past. They would go out and walk aimlessly to untangle their thoughts or to find clarity. The rhythm of walking somehow slows your brain down too. And it's one of the simplest mindfulness practices you can have, because it doesn't require anything from you. It's a physical way to process what is on your mind. And as you may know, sometimes the best ideas appear right when you stop trying to have them. So now I try to do this every day, even if it's a short walk. Some days I walk for 5 minutes, other days a full hour. For me, there's really no rule, no goal, no steps to hit. It's more about just being there, noticing the things around, the small details you would normally rush past. It brings me back to my body, to the present moment, and I always come back home feeling lighter, calmer, and more connected. Then an interesting one, questioning your own thoughts. I think the default setting for us is to react to our thoughts as if they are facts. Like a worry appears, a judgment forms, and suddenly it feels like that is all completely real. I used to take every thought very seriously too. Like if my mind said something negative like I cannot do this, I believed it without really questioning it at all. But learning to pause and actually question those thoughts changed everything. It's not about forcing positive thinking or pretending that everything is now fine. It's simply about testing what is true. Like when your mind says, I can do this, or I'm not good enough. You can stop and ask, is that really true? And most of the time it isn't. It's just a passing emotion dressed up as a fact. This habit creates space between you and your thoughts. You start noticing how many of them are repetitive or exaggerated. And that awareness alone brings calm because you realize that you don't have to believe everything you think. Like yesterday in a shower, I had so stupid like negative thoughts, and I just started to laugh because, like, why am I thinking this? Of course, I cannot really choose my own thoughts, but immediately I made that connection or distinction that, okay, that is not true, and this is actually true. Instead of being pulled in by every story your mind tells, you can choose how to respond. You catch negative thoughts before they take over, and you start responding from awareness. Which also brings me to the next one, which is accepting that most days are average and boring. Yeah, most of our days are not exciting. You wake up, do your work, eat, rest, and repeat. And in a world that keeps saying things like make every day count or live your best life, accepting that can feel wrong because we are taught to always chase the next thing to make everything super meaningful and important. So the idea of being okay with just average and ordinary days sounds weird, or that you are just settling for something bad. But I think the real problem isn't that life is boring sometimes. It's that we expect it not to be, when every day has to be special. You end up disappointed most of the time. You start comparing yourself to people online who only share their highlights and slowly ordinary life. Simple life starts to feel like a failure. When really, that is what most of life is made of. The happiest people I know are not the ones doing the most or having the most. They are the ones who can find contentment in the small, steady, simple rhythms of their own days. There's beauty in the ordinary when you stop demanding more from it. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. See you in the next one.